Hi friends, it's Becky and I wanted to create a little whimsical design using the beads and some of the findings like this cute little pewter fairy from Green Girl Studios that came in the Enchanted Forest Softflex design kit. I keep forgetting the name of it. I've looked that up like twice already. Anyway, I wanted to pull out some of these ones and add a little bit of whimsy to what is already a pretty whimsical design. So I grabbed all of the ceramic butterflies that came in this kit, and I'm going to be using them, plus these little leaf beads that came on the accompanying Jesse James beads bead strand. That was not part of the kit, but it was meant to go with it, so it was an additional purchase that goes with it. And you can see all of that stuff in the unboxing that I did, which I'll link in the description below. So I'm going to be using these leaf beads, the butterflies. I have some emerald bicones, some of these faceted rondelles. We've got some of these leaf bead caps, these two metal beads that have the filigree on them. We're going to use these leaf beads that have this pointy end. Most of these are a little jagged, but that's okay. And we've got some purple matte beads. These are all glass beads, by the way. And then these faceted ovals, and I'm using both of these colors for this design, both the emerald and this misty blue color. We've got the light pink bicones that we're going to be using, and then these flower beads, these faceted flower beads with the AB finish on them. I'm adding some 11O seed beads. These are crystal silver lined seed beads. I thought they would add a nice little addition on some of our bits and pieces here. And then we'll make some earrings at the end of this using the fancy sparkly disc, this really lightweight metal bead, the one that's hollow, and another one of these leaves. So we'll get that done after we make our necklace. But I'm turning my butterflies and my leaves into dangles, and I'm going to show you how I do that. Again, I wanted to add a little touch of whimsy, so I'm using some 24 gauge wire and just adding a little swirl on all of these when we do that. So let's move these guys out of the way, and I will do my last 3 dangles with you because even though these two are both butterflies, they will be different. But let me show you how I'm doing this butterfly dangle. You can see on here, I've got 1 already done. Well, 3 already done. I've got my swirl, I've got my seed beads, and then I've got my wire with a little wrapped loop on top. And this is, there we go, ready to add to the necklace. I'm moving some of my stuff out of view on the camera so that we can concentrate on what we're doing here. And again, I'm going to be also, when I stringing it on this dark blue lapis beading wire. And for my tools, I've got my flush cutters, round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and my favorite crimper. This is the magical crimper, so I'm going to be using that for that. And I've got some 2x2 crimp tubes that we'll be using for that as well. All right, let's move these guys out of the way, and I will demonstrate. Some of these, and I'm going to want these to be staggered, so one of these will be shorter than the other. Let's move these out of the way for now. We'll do our on the necklace dangle first. And so for this, again, I'm taking the 24 gauge wire, and what I'm doing right here is I'm sort of straightening the wire out with my fingers. 24 gauge is soft enough that you can just do this with your fingers really easily. You don't necessarily have to get your nylon jaw pliers out for this. And then I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and right here at the very tip of my round nose pliers, I'm just going to make a tight little swirl. First of all, you notice how part of it is a little bit straight and part of it is a little bit curved. I'm going to nibble off the straight part so that my entire spiral is soft and swirly. I'm just going to do that with my flush cutters. I'm just going to nibble off that straight part right there. Now I can take my round nose pliers and do a proper turny swirl. Now for doing spirals, like, the most important thing is to do just a little bit at a time and be patient with yourself while you're doing that. Now I put down my round nose pliers at this point, and I'm picking up my chain nose pliers so that I can hold on to my thing. And you notice I'm just kind of gently pushing with my thumb against the swirl. We're just going to keep going until we are about 3 swirls deep, right there, and just past the point where I have that. I'm going to hold onto this and tip this back with my finger so that it centers it. That's going to make a little head pin, almost, pretty much. And I'm going to give myself about 3 inches of space here, because I am going to be wrapping this. So let's pick up an 11/0 seed bead, put on our butterfly, and then add another 11/0 seed bead. There we go. And now for this, we're going to do a little wrapped loop at the top. So I've got my round nose pliers up here, and I'm holding it right above my seed bead. I'm going to press my lower jaw, the one in back, behind me right there, against the bead gently. The other one is not pressing against the wire at all until I close my pliers, and that just bends it right back. And I can push this wire up over the top, open the jaw, rotate my pliers, and keep going around. And I can use my fingers to wrap this pretty easily because it is a soft wire and it is a soft gauge. And that is kind of a messy wrap. So let's just do another one like that. That's going to work. There we go. I can snip off my excess wire. Give that just a little bit of smush right on the edge of that wire, just to tuck that in. If it's rotating while you're moving, trying to tuck that wire in, which mine was doing, go ahead and grab the swirl. That'll help you stabilize it. There we go. That's better. And now I've got that one done. I'm going to put that with its little friends. Here we go, my little flock of butterflies fly away. And now let me show you how I am wrapping the leaf bead so that we get a little dangle like that with some seed beads on it and the swirl right in the front. For this, I'm going to do the same kind of swirl. Start at the beginning. Tight circle. Nibble off the straight bit. and just, you know, spiral. Pretty good at spiraling, literally and figuratively. Go. Make sure this is nice and straight. And for this, we are going to be wanting it to have some space for the seed beads and also to wrap the top of it. So this is going to be long enough for this. No, actually, no, this one is going to be a little bit shorter, I think. Actually, because I wanted them to be all different lengths, so that might actually be good right there. So I've got my long one, got my second to the longest, I've got another one, and then we'll have a shorter one right about there in the little cluster that we're going to be making. So that will definitely be long enough for that. Now to get the spiral in the right place, I'm going to put this through the loop. I'm going to give myself about 1 centimeter from my spiral to the hole. You can use a measuring tool. I usually use my finger to measure 1 centimeter, like that, along the side. Your fingers may be different than mine though, so go ahead and get a measuring tool if you need it. I'm going to bend the back up and forward like that. You don't need to do like huge bendy motions, it's just a very gentle bend. And then I'm going to bring this back around once, twice, and then push this over the front like that. And that gets me my little leaf with a spiral on it. And since this one's going to be a little bit shorter than these others, let's bring these guys up here so we can compare. I'm thinking it's going to be about half as many seed beads as this one. So let me put on 5 and see where we land with that. 2, 3, 4, 5. I think one more. One more. Yes, I think that is going to be the perfect length. So once again, we're going to do a little wrapped loop. Got my round nose pliers, and I'm going to do the exact same type of wrap. The end of my wire is a little bit short, but that's okay, because it's still going to be enough wire that I can wrap around here. And I may not even need to snip off my excess wire. Alright, I do have just a little bit that I can snip off right there at the very back. That's going to be my little cluster of leaves that my intention is for this to be right there where my fairy is, and then for this guy to be just right there in the middle. So I need to wrap this one, and this one's going to have more of the 11 seed beads between the butterfly and my loop up top. So it'll be just like wrapping the other one, except it's going to be longer. So let's start with our loop. And it looks like I'm doing a bigger spiral for this one, accidentally, but that's okay because it's gonna just make it special. Just my special little monarch butterfly. So because it's gonna be longer, I'm going to cut off a little bit more of the wire than I did on the first ones. And we're gonna still do the 1/11 at the bottom. String on our ceramic butterfly, and then let's do 6 or 7 of these. 2, 3, 5, 6. Let's do 7. And I just want to see how this looks next to these 2 longest ones, because that's who it's going to have to be sitting between. I think that's about right. All right, and another thing that's going to be different about this is that it's not going to be strung on like these will between some beads. It's going to be attached directly to our fairy, just right here at the back, through this loop on the back of our fairy. So I'm going to make a wrapped loop back here, but I'm not going to wrap it yet. I'm just going to bend this over, get this over the top and around, and then I'm going to put this through the loop on my fairy. Okay, so now that that's on there, let's hold on to the loop. Wrap my butterfly. This doesn't have to look pretty because it's going to be behind the fairy, but that's all right. It still looks fairly neat. There you go. Yep, that is definitely long enough for that. All right, so now I've got my fairy with my butterfly. Scooch back just a little bit. And I've got these guys, so we're going to be ending up with these 2 right next to it. And then these 2 about a little bead away, so that they all dangle like that from my fairy at the middle of my necklace. All right, now got my center. Let's lay out the rest of this. I had an idea and I had a layout for it before, but then I had to move some things around. So we are going to go over here like this, and over here like this, with these two. I believe I was going to have these as part of this. We'll be using the seed beads in our stringing too. Okay, those will be near the end. I'm just trying to remember how I had this before, because I did have an idea of how it would go. I did have it laid out at one point. Where's my second rondelle? There it is. All right, now. Let's do this one. And this one. This one. And that one. Get these two on that one. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it like that. And where am I putting these guys? Two, three, four, five. 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, so I'm going to string one side and then we'll string the other. All right, let's put on 1, 2, 3 of these. The 11 seed beads. And then work from right to left with these. 1 of those. A single seed bead. One of these guys. fairy. This one, single seed bead, and this one, and then 1, 2, 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. This way these will all be clustered behind my fairy and free to dangle and be whimsical. All right. Now, I think I'm going to need a couple more seed beads to get past the end of my fairy. So probably on each side, or actually since these are traveling in between them, so that ends up being 4 on that side, 4 on this side. Let's add 3 more on this side. Let's just remember to do that on the other side too. 1, 2, 3. This way I can string on my next little butterfly. Nope, that's too close. Let's put a different bead in there. And then 1, 2, 3. And now we put this butterfly in. And then these guys are not going to have these 11 O's between them. They're just going to be right next to each other for this little cluster of beads. Put on our bead caps, purple bead, bead cap, this one, this, and then another butterfly. All right, and now for the rest of them, we can definitely add some seed beads in between each of them. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Actually, let's put these guys, let's smoosh them up together like that. One, two, three. One, two, three, and I may change my mind about my spacing on these, but I might not. Let's find out. 1, 2, 3. And then these guys are all going to be equally spaced out and separated. 2, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. So that's 13 total for this side of this necklace. All right. That is going to be long enough. So let's cut off the wire on this side so that it's an equal amount, and put a bead stopper here. And remember, I added 3 on this side, so I'm going to add 3 again. 1, 2, 3. And then this pink one. And then we're going to do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Add a butterfly. Then another 3. The pink bead. And these were all smushed together without the spacers. So leaf, bead cap, purple bead, bead cap, and leaf. This guy again. Now I'm gonna add another butterfly. 3 11-ohs, 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to be doing 3 11-ohs and then each of these guys till we get to the purple beads again. And then these guys are all together. 1, 2, 3. I love that. It's such a fun focal. I'm having fun with it, my friends. All right, so 1, 2, 3. We're just going to be doing 3 seed beads and then each of these other beads in turn till we get to the end where we're going to do 13. Oop. Forgot my extra seed beads. 1, 2, 3. There we go. One, 2, 3. 2, 3. I know you guys are used to seeing dangles in my sister's videos, but I can do dangles too. To enjoy a spot of whimsy. Now and again. 1, 2, 3. All right. And then 13. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13. I just said 13 and then I stopped at 10. That's silly. I'm going to check my length real quick. Oh, that's going to be perfect. Love that. So let's get a little loop made on this end. With my crimps. And then I've got, for hardware, I just grabbed some gunmetal color. Jump rings and a lobster clasp to just go along in the back. Thought it'd be a nice little match for the pewtery findings. All right, so let's make a loop by putting on our crimp tube. Feeding the wire back through it. Again, I'm using jump rings, so I don't need to attach this to anything. I find with this wire, I don't need wire guardians because it has a really strong and durable nylon coating on it, and it also bends very well and maintains its shape when it's actually being worn. So what I want to do is get that crimp right there. I haven't squoze it yet. Right here in this little concavity on my crimper. Again, this is my favorite way of crimping. You can crimp using like a taco style crimper. If you do that, I would suggest using crimp covers though. But I find I don't need crimp covers with this style of crimp because I'll show you in just a minute. After you do the initial squeeze, it smushes down the corners of your crimp, and it's not fully crimped yet. This will fall apart if I put pressure on it right now. But when you turn it to like a 90-degree angle, make sure that it's centered every time you do this. Give it another smush. It's looking a little crumply, but center it and turn it and just hit it from several different angles and just give it a little squeeze, and as you do, it forms itself into a little ball of crimp with nice smooth edges that aren't going to rough up your skin, and it is a very strong crimp. I've done tug tests before on this channel to show you how well it works. And that's why I like this style of crimping, because it just makes it easy. I don't have to have a whole bunch of additional findings in order to have a successful crimp on there. All right, so now that that is snugged up, but not too snug, I'm just going to curl this in to take up some of the slack for my second crimp, which is going to happen on this end. Going through there, make myself a little loop. And I'm going to want there to be just a little bit of space between this crimp and that next bead there. So I'm just going to use my fingernail to make sure that there's a teensy bit of space so that my crimper can get around the crimp fully and not squish that bead and, you know, crush it or something like that. that I can just simply crimp my crimp, make my loop, and have my necklace just about done. All right, I like to put the fiddly bit of my necklace on the right side because I am right-handed. So I'm going to put my lobster clasp on the right side. So let's grab a jump ring. And since it's flat for most of the tip of this, it makes it really convenient to be able to use it for things like holding the end of a jump ring while you're fixing that. So sometimes when the ends of the jump ring overlap, you can wiggle them back and forth like I just did to get them to match up correctly. So that they actually meet up when you close them. And let's do that with this one too, because you can see it overlaps just a little bit, the ends. So swing it forward, and then swing it back. And see, now it matches up. I like to make sure I make it match up before I put it on. Because sometimes if the overlap is too great, I just have to find a different jump ring to use instead of that one. These are two different sizes of jump rings. I'm using a 5mm here to attach this 6mm jump ring. I just wanted a larger jump ring to make it easier when I'm going to connect it. I am a big believer in making things easier on your future self. So future Becky will be like, thanks, past Becky, for making it so easy for me to close my necklace. There we go. That is a very whimsical little necklace with my little butterfly dangles and my leaves. I'm going to move this guy out of the way though, so we can make some earrings. And for this one, I used the same method for getting my leaf onto a piece of wire. And then I just had these other beads that I stacked up on there. I've got a little ear wire here. So let's do that with this one. I'm going to make my spiral first. The exact same that I did the other spirals. Right here at the tip. Start that loop. Nibble the straight bit off of the end of that. Like that. And keep looping. Once it gets past a certain point. Oh, that's overlapping too much in that direction. Let's close that up. That's 3. I want to make sure my spirals are matched. So for this one, I am going to need it to be longer. So let's go ahead and snip it off about here. just going to straighten this out a little bit more. Right, but we are going to definitely be using the same method to get this leaf attached on here, where I wanted to leave myself about 1 centimeter of space there for the wrapping. Let's turn this so that it's going to be facing the other way so that our earrings will be mirrored. Moving that to the middle like that, and pushing this guy around. Till he's just right there, peeking over the shoulder, and then you can just push him over towards the front. There we go. All right, now I've got one single seed bead right here at the bottom. And then one of my twisty turbine rondelles. These metal beads, they've got a hole in the middle, so like you can use them as a spacer, but they've got all these holes along the edges too. So if you find one, and go through the hole on the opposite side. It might take a little bit of searching to find it with the end of your wire. Nope. Nope. Trying to go through this hole right here. There we go. That's on the opposite side, right? Okay. Yeah, because then we can string them on here. Add this one. And then these sparkly beads, like this is a really lightweight bead, but it's nice and big. So it's going to make an impact for these earrings, but these are going to be really lightweight. They're not going to weigh your ears down very much. And this bead is acrylic, so it's also very lightweight, and it will not weigh your ears down very much when you're wearing it. So I've got those, and then I've got this little decorative bead cap that I'm just putting right on the top of my sparkly bead right there. And now I can make a loop up here. I'm just going to do a wrapped loop. This keeps rotating on me. There we go. Come on, buddy. That'll work. All right. So there we go, Enchanted Forest earrings. Once again, using the Softflex Enchanted Forest design kit and bead strand from Softflex. We've got our little whimsical necklace with all of my little dangles and my fairy, my butterflies. We've got some leaf earrings to go with it. And again, I will put a link in the description below to my unboxing of this design kit. They may still have some kits available. Sometimes the kits, if they're very popular, they will sell out, but they may have some available at softflex.com. I will go ahead and put a link to their site in the description below as well, so you can check that out. They do have another design kit, actually 2 other ones that they are currently selling. The So Charming, which is for their Customer Appreciation Week in September, and then there's also the mushroom one that should be a lot of fun. We should be getting some good like fall vibes from that one, but they do have those available at Softflex. And again, I used the 24 gauge wire, and the wire that came in the package was this blue lapis. So until next time, my friends, happy beading.